Hi, my name is Teddy and I'm a member of Solidarity Winnipeg. I'm a black person and I've experienced intimidation and harassment by police, and also have friends who experience the same thing, including racist profiling and violence at the hands of the police. We all need to be opposed to exploitation and oppression of any kind, including brutality caused by the police. But why are the police so consistently horrible? Police exist to enforce and maintain the power of the ruling class, which is the capitalist class, the power of the small group of people over the vast majority of us. The violence and the threat of violence from the police is authorized by a capitalist state, which exists to further the interests of this small group of bosses and landlords, the 1%. States are about stability for capitalists, not for us. Any concession and benefit they offer the rest of us is just to keep us from overthrowing this whole system. And the proof of that is that all the significant social progress gains we have made happened when there was a credible threat that many people would collectively cause disruptions and threaten the profit and power of the capitalists, and would take back the whole system and transform it into something new. This is important to know when we think about the police, because the police are the front lines of enforcing this system that benefits the capitalist class against the interests of everyone else. Consider how last year in Winnipeg, the police shoot a 16-year-old boy at 7-Eleven in an escalation against a call for shoplifting. Why? 7-Eleven is a billion-dollar corporation. What could they possibly lose that would justify killing a human in this way? Or how about when workers stand up against their own exploitation when they go on strike, like we saw at the Regina Co-op refinery just recently? Who do the bosses call to bring in scab labor to undermine the worker struggle and to allow the corporation to make more money? The police. Or how about the way the RCMP was ready to use lethal force against Indigenous land defenders who were pushing back against a huge corporation trying to push a pipeline through their territory in Wet'suwet'en? A corporation given the okay by the government, whose interests are being prioritized up to the point of murdering peaceful defenders on their own territory. Consider the role the police play in enforcing these priorities. While bosses try to trick us, divide us, and convince us that the reason our lives are hard is because of immigration, poor people, one population group or another, anything else besides them exploiting us, they know that whenever we, who vastly outnumber them, come together and demand freedom from their power, which they have no right to have, they know that when we do that, they need the force of the police on their side to enforce whatever laws they pass to keep control over us. If we want to get rid of the ongoing brutality of the police, we need a different system than capitalism. We need a system not based on competition nor profit, but instead cooperation and care. A system not of the inherent instability of markets and unnecessary ecological destruction caused by an illogical commitment to endless growth, but instead of coordination and planning and sustainability. A system not based on the private ownership of the resources that society needs as a whole, nor based on exploitation of the many in order to produce them, but instead on collective ownership in which we democratically decide how we produce, how we use, and how we distribute what we need, all while respecting Indigenous sovereignty, fighting all oppressions, and acting in balance with the natural world. We need eco-socialism, and we need to fight for this better world through collective, democratic struggle, because this approach takes advantage of our huge size as the working class, takes advantage of our ability to change our consciousness through the process of struggling, and crucially, takes advantage of the way that the capitalists are dependent on us. They extract their power and wealth through exploiting us. But we can and must replace them and use our collective efforts not for their narrow self-serving interests, but instead for the interests of all of us. There are a number of obstacles in our way, not least of which is the way we are divided by race, gender, and other identities, and these differences are not to be denied. But For sure, capitalism will always require the repression of us, the majority, by a police-like force. So let's set our sights on getting rid of this violence of the police and come together in a struggle for a new and better arrangement of society. We deserve liberation from the brutality of the police, so let's fight for the kind of society that can give this to us.